The verbal attacks against France are coming hard and fast after its latest nuclear test. France carried out the 6th in a series of tests Saturday underneath the South Pacific atoll. It was the largest blast yet and possibly the last, according to earlier estimates by French President Jacques Chirac. South Pacific nations are once again leading the chorus of condemnation. In Japan, the only nation to suffer an atomic bombing, protesters voiced their disapproval. One woman took out her frustration on an effigy of Mr. Chirac. France has promised to sign a nuclear test ban treaty after the series is over.
Now we're happy to share with you some of the history about our carving, but there's not a great deal of information about our carving prior to the coming of the white man, as little has been preserved. We mainly carved out of necessity those objects our ancestors used in their day-to-day lives, and some of our gods were represented by carvings, but most of these were destroyed by the missionaries in the early 19th century. Now they either had them burnt or sent away to museums overseas. Many of our artefacts were sent by them to the London Missionary Society Museum in England and are now held in a British museum. Unfortunately, the museum here on Rarotonga holds nothing predating to the coming of the European.
Kia orana tapi, pēte koi.
Oh, meitaki, Risa, meitaki.
Welcome to Norway. It's very nice to see you again here. As you can see, we have a special guest today, and he is coming from long away. Whereabout are you coming from?
I come from the Cook Islands in the Pacific Ocean. It's a sea between New Zealand, Hawaii and the Easter Islands. It's a very big sea. The Cook Islands alone takes about 2 million square miles of sea.
2 million square miles of sea. That will say it's nearly as big as half of Europe, really, just with sea. You talking about Cook Islands. How many islands are there in the Cooks?
Well, Rarotonga is the capital island, and there are 15 islands in the Cook Islands, which the furthest island is about 900 miles and the closest about 110 miles.
So all these 15 islands, they are scattered around in a huge area, and are there many people living there?
Yes, there's about 4 islands with no people on, but the rest 11 there are some people on. Some of them as much as 800 people, and some as much as 4 people on.
4 people only?
Yes, used to be 1 people on before, but he died now, so the government have put 4 on this island to look after Suaro.
Suaro. Ah, that was the island I remember now from my school days, that for many years ago there was a pirate ship coming from the new country. Was it Peru or Chile or somewhere they have found gold? The ship was full loaded with gold, and he was going to sail to Japan to buy some silk or some spices there, and on the way the ship went on the rocks. All the treasure were lost, but somebody been telling me that the Spaniards, they dragged the treasure on the island and dug it down, and it is hidden and nobody found it. Is that right?
That is right. There has been some expeditions from the Cook Island trying to look for the gold.
Oh.
And of course, you know, the island is so low to the sea level, possibly about the highest point could be about 5-6 foot high above sea level. And over the years there's been hurricane after hurricane, and when a hurricane reaches the island, it covers a new mat on, a new sand on. It'll take about 2 feet of new sand on. So every year it's covered. So the gold is well hidden at the moment.
So the gold is still there waiting for you?
Yes, the gold might be still there waiting, but remains to be seen.
Good. The biggest island, you told me, is Rarotonga. How
Yes.
many people are living there, and what are people living from?
There's about 9,000 people on Rarotonga, which is the capital, and it's a volcanic island. Highest mountains up to 3,000 feet in the middle, and surrounding the mountains are about half a mile of flatland, and that's where the people lives right around. It's got beautiful valleys, water estuary running through, and very, very green growth.
Mm. But industry-wise and money-wise, are you attached to England, or which country are you attached to really, or have you got full independence?
In the olden days, the British used to be controlling us, and we used to run pound, shilling, and pence.
Mm.
And then, of course, later on, we were transferred under the New Zealand government, which because they are closer to us, about 2,000 miles. So ever since we've been under the New Zealand government, and now in 1966 we have been changed into a self-government, which still New Zealand still control us, but we make our own laws.
You make your own laws. What's about the currency, about the money?
Just recently, in the last 2 months, our currency have been changed back to New Zealand.
Oh.
We used to have Cook Island currency, but then, you know, our value of our money disappeared, and we have to ask New Zealand if we can come back and
Please,
please, and be with their money power again.
Right. So now you have New Zealand dollars and cents in the Cook Islands.
Yes, yes, and I'm sure all the banks are quite happy now in Raro that we're back into the New Zealand currency.
Hmm. And talking about New Zealand reacted very strongly against the nuclear trials they are going to do in Mururoa in the French Polynesia. How far is French Polynesia from you?
Mururoa, where they are exploding the bomb in the last few months, we have been putting a lot of protests with the renewed testing of the bomb in Mururoa, because we are the closest to this bomb. We're only about 900 miles, and one of our island, Manaya, Achum and Mauke, are closer, which is about 800 miles to the bomb.
That's very near. That's from Stavanger up to Trondheim in our measurements. The French, they started for about 20 years ago making nuclear tests in this area. There were 3 islands they took out. It was Mururoa, Whangatofa and Hua. And they did explosions in the atmosphere in the beginning from 1966 to 1974. And then they went underground afterwards. In these years, from 1966 to 74, where they had the nuclear explosions in the atmosphere, did you have any discharge, any problems you think of that could have happened on the Cook Islands? I've heard you talking a bit early on about leukemia, is that you called it? Cancer, blood cancer.
Yes, in 1986 I lost one boy. He had blood cancer, which is leukemia, and we took him to New Zealand, and he died 2 years after. There has been more children who have died. This is why we're fighting. We know more from the Cook Islands will die.
Yes.
But there has been no proof, but we believe it has come maybe from the bomb. But we asked doctors in New Zealand what is the cause. Nobody has come with the answer, but we believe this could have been something that started, because when the atmospheric test stops, there has been a decrease of the disease, and now they are going to start again. So we don't know.
Yes, the French, they have put up huge drilling rigs similar to what we have in the North Sea. They are drilling about 1,500 meters down, where they put this nuclear head for this trial, and the main ground here is basalt and coral, and they say that it's very safe to do these explosions. But why do you think France is so interested of doing trials here in Polynesia, so far away from France? Could there be any special reasons, you think?
Well, maybe I think because it's not safe to do it in their backyard, so they take it right far away from them and from the big countries in Europe, so there won't be that much protests, because in the Cook Island only 9,000 people, 20,000 people and 9,000 in Rarotonga. So maybe because down there he looks at us, we're only a drop in the ocean, and we can cover us our noise.
You were talking early on that the Prime Minister in Tahiti, Gaston Laflosse, he went to Rarotonga not so far ago, and I don't know what the purpose was. Tell me what happened there.
Well, that was a very, very interesting trip. It was the day of remembering our self-government, that day he came to participate in the celebration. He was told there would be a lot of protests, but he thought that we are not really protesting, maybe only a few people. But to his surprise, when he arrived at the airport, there was thousands and thousands of people protesting about the resumption of the exploding of the bomb. And he didn't last long in Raro. The next day he went back quickly, and now he knows that that we are serious, and we don't blame him, because perhaps he's just a meat in the sandwich, and because Chirac is the main man, and Gaston France could be just a puppet on the string, and when he tells you go there, you go there. But possibly just because in the years before we used to, France give us some money, which is very, very unusual, giving us aid and to our country. Maybe because so we can make no noise. But we find that from what we read from the world, from the news about the bomb, and I don't think the money is everything.
I got the impression as well when I was in Tahiti last year that there are lots of technicians, roughly 2,000 technicians working with these scientific persons, and then all the administration coming over to France. They are paid very well, there's lots of money involved, and we went into a local shop just to buy 3 small ice creams, those bounty ones, you know. We paid equivalent to 70 Norwegian kroner for 3 ice creams. And then we thought, okay, maybe it's imported. Let's go and buy some bananas. We bought a kilo of bananas, and I'm sure it's more expensive down there than it was in a local shop here in Rimi, for instance, in Norway. So the cost of life is very, very high in French Polynesia. That could be one reason that the French are putting so much money into this. And they have so much prestige in it to build up these nuclear technology. But do you think, or has it been anything you know about, that the French are trying to come in to your islands to pay people to be quiet, don't shout too much, don't let the world know what's happening?
Yes, I have a slightest idea that believe that I think that's what they are actually trying to do, just to hide the noise, and because we are the closest to the bomb, and New Zealand is 2,000 miles away from us, and maybe that's what they are trying to do.
When do you think, if it is going to be this trial, this nuclear trial, when is it going to be? Is it very recent? Is it very near in the future?
They reckon it'll be in September, because the Greenpeace vessel has been to the Cook Islands, to Rarotonga, and of course they went about a month ago to Mururua, and they've been rammed by the warships there, and they had some holes on. And right now she returned back to Rarotonga and then went to Fiji. She's now on the slipway in Fiji for repair. We had been shown some video films during the attack by the French on the Greenpeace boat in Rarotonga. When they arrived, they brought some documentary camera photos, videos, which they've hit on the ship when they were attacked. It's really very, very surprising what's happening in our part of the ocean.
Are you people going over to Mururua to demonstrate before the explosion?
Yes, we are going. We have no warships. We have one little boat, but the government not sending that. But in the olden times we have a wooden canoe, a double hull, so that is the only weapon we can send. So we are sending our double hull canoe as a protest from the Cook Islands.
Okay, I hope they are putting out this trial. Everybody hope that there's not going to be any explosion here, so people can live in peace, and still our earth can be green, and we can have a future for our children.
Oh yes, you know, we hope the Chirac will think very hard for us, and maybe try to stop this thing he's doing, and he might be doing the practice in the Cook Islands, where waters close to French Polynesia, but he might do the real thing in Europe.
Well, we have heard now a little bit about the where you're coming from, about the problem you have down at your country now with the French. But why do you come to Norway? Do you come to Norway to tell us about what the French are doing on the other side?
Not really, my friend. I didn't come to talk about that. I came for to look for a cargo ship for the people of the Cook Islands. In the olden days, we used to grow our own tomatoes, export oranges and export bananas and pineapples. We export them to New Zealand. And those days, the big ship used to come through London, England, and went through the Panama, through the Cook Islands, unload all the flour, rice, sugar, some cars and timber, and then continue down to New Zealand. But while in the Cook Islands, loading the ship with bananas, oranges, pineapples, and then take to New Zealand and sells it there. Well, today Australia is growing bananas, they're growing pineapples. Maybe one plantation of pineapple could be the size of Rarotonga. So for us, how can we compete with this on the market in New Zealand? And there could be a banana plantation twice the size of Rarotonga. And so we have been very, very unfortunate for these. And of course, we've been taught how to eat flour, rice, and sugar from hundreds and hundreds of years ago, and now we can't get away from it. And the people in the other islands need the rice, need the flour, and they've left their natural food and depended on these things now.
Yeah, so this is where the transport to the island comes in with a little cargo ship.
That's right. This is where the transports comes in, and this is why I am here to look for a cargo boat. I have a little one in the Cook Islands, a 70-ton boat, and of course with the distance from Rarotonga to the furthest island, it'll take 4.5 days to 5 days. This is a calm sea traveling. If you travel in rough sea, it could move up to 6 days before 70 tons of cargo reaches the island. Only one island, and then I have to come back. It's a very, very expensive business, and then I have to load and go back again the same distance for another island.
Aye.
So this is where we need a big ship where we can load all the islands in this cargo, in this boat, and then take it one run and then deliver it all around.
Yes, so when you're going out to the islands, there is no harbor facilities there.
Oh, it is a game that is life and death, and the sea is not very friendly, and it can be very angry, and we have to find our way with the lighters to take the cargo ashore. Sometimes we are lucky, sometimes we are unlucky, we lose cargo.
I can remember when I went to Michiario, it was a very calm day, but still there was a huge swell and a little tender coming in. People had to jump in the sea and hold the ship so it's not getting crushed against the little quayside they made there. Or it wasn't in fact a quayside, it was just a big hole they had dynamited up, so they could, the little inlet they had. So that was very, very difficult. That is with the ships going around. I remember for a few years ago, maybe 10, 15 years ago, there was a man over here in Haugesund, and he bought 2 ships for the Cook Islands. What happened with those ships?
Well, those ships came over to the islands, and due to navigation errors, and then they end up on the reef. Both of them end up on the reef.
Okay. Is that a long time ago?
That is a long time ago, and now he's given up shipping. So we've been out with our ships for about a year until I came to the picture. I decided I'll have a go at shipping, and then I started with a little ship, and now I'm in Norway looking for a bigger ship.
Okay, I hope you have a success finding a ship.
Well, with your help and working together, I'm sure we will find the right ship for the Cook Islands.
Okay, thank you.
talking about?
We have now talked a little bit about your country and where you're living, what people are doing, and you mentioned early on that when the big ships came, they took away from your place bananas and oranges and pineapples and all your products from your different gardens on the islands, and then that is not produced any longer because the industrial countries such as Australia are producing so much more to a cheaper price. People stopped producing, and they are, as you said, they are buying cabbages now from New Zealand, right? What do you think is the answer for the islands now? Are you going to be completely dependent from us?
Well, looking around while being here in Norway for a short time, I can see that Norway fishes a lot, and I know we have a big ocean area in the islands, and right now the Koreans, the Japanese, and all other big countries are harvesting our fish in our garden, and I've just noticed then that why can't we take our own harvesting instead of depending on these other countries to do, because they take our fish, they put it in the cans and send it back to the Cook Islands for us to buy, and I would believe would amount to about 12 million kronas, your money, and it could be more. So if we would like to save this money, the only way for us I can see is we have to be trained, and I can see Norway would be a very, very good place to for our people to be brought here to be trained, because I don't think the Koreans would love to train us, or the Japanese would love to train us, because once we know how to fish, they will be kicked out of our garden.
Yes.
So I think over here you have very good technology, so it would be nice to get some of our people from the islands here and be trained in the fishing, the manufacturing in the cans, and also the building of the fishing boats. I saw one the other day. We went down the sea there. It's made out of fiberglass. I was so amazed with this boat that we can actually do these things in the islands. I know fiberglass is already in the Cook Islands, but they don't have the technology that a fishing boat can be built out of these things. And seeing this one in Norway would be very good for the Cook Islands.
Yes, and for the canning, I think you come to the right place, Stavanger, and this area was the biggest canning town, I would say, in the whole of Norway, for only about 50 years ago. I think about 70%, maybe a bit more, of the town dependent on the canning industry for little sardines. And now, as you have seen, is the oil business. So we went from the fish from the canning to the oil. And also for the fishing boats, we are building lots of fishing boats in plastic, in fiberglass. We call them sjark in our language. And they are for one person, two persons, sometimes for three. They are, as you're saying, relatively cheap to make, easy to make when you know the technology. And the expertise we have had for centuries how to fish. How do your people fish when they go fishing now?
Well, right now it's rather funny, really. I mean, we are in the shallow water fishing with the spears running around chasing for the little fish about this size, whereas in the ocean the Koreans and the Japanese are fishing the big fish and taking away. It looks stupid. when I think now, after I've been here to Norway.
So you have no fishing boats or no technology how to fish? No. Do you know anything about trawling and things like that? Or
No, nothing at all about trawling. I was amazed that little boat we can throw that net down. I thought he was just going to drag them above the sea level, but when he said he goes down 380 meters, 340 meters down, I couldn't believe it, because I remember some of the fishermen in the islands, they have this long line, they go down. They said, oh, they catch the fish about 70 meters, 90 meters, and your net is going down 3 times the depth. Yeah. Our fish is there.
Yes, sure it is. So what you need, as you're saying, is maybe a possibility of training your young people.
Yes, we need these people to be trained. We're paying a lot for the big fish from the ocean on the island, and we need training.
So perhaps in the future we might get some grants for you young chaps to come here to Norway, being trained, and then take the know-how and the technology how we are fishing down to you, and see if we can use the same system down there.
Yes, we would love to have that. These things, would love to have it, but we are a very poor country. Money is our problem. But I'm just gonna go back to the islands, and I will try and talk to the politicians. And but I know that right now we are not a country who have any surplus money. We are very, very poor. We need help, and I will see what I can do.
multiply this to that. But there is something different with this. It's 4a to the power of 2. It's not 2a to the power of 2. It's 4a squared brackets, meaning this one. Put them down as you go, and then break the phone numerals times a, which is all your a's there. We all know that the index.
You're talking about that you need training for children abroad somewhere else, and when I was down in your country I went to a little island called Michiaru. It's one of the southern group, and we went to visit a school and stayed there for a day, and I was very impressed how they could learn with nothing. They didn't even have pencils or pens, for not talking about, hardly any paper. There was one little boy sitting there writing on the floor and doing his calculations. Is that a general thing on the islands, that people are so poor? Are all the schools on the islands so?
Well, not really, not the way we wanted our children to be. You know, we want them to learn fast and be with the modern world. But the way as it is, as you see there, that will really slow our children down, and it'll be hard. We will be about hundreds of years behind if we have to train them like that, without any books, without any pencils. This is because we just haven't got the finance to look after the children.
There was one thing I liked very much in your country. It was when the small children are starting at school, they all have to talk the native language for the first 3 years, and then they go over to English. Is that right?
Yes, we try to get our children to speak our mother tongue, and so they won't forget that, because when we go to New Zealand, we see all the New Zealand Maoris speaking English, and they are actually forgetting their language. But as time is going, I can see some of our people on Rarotonga are all speaking English, so I think it's just a matter of time. It'll change.
Unfortunately, but you were very clever of training the small children, the dances and the music and things. Is that normal as well in the school?
Well, for the dancing, when a child is born, once he or she is about 1 year old, the sound of the music will be put in his ears, and he'll be taught just to make those little movements, and then and that's the starting of it.
I was very impressed of how all the children are participating with the dancing and how happy they were. and smiling.
Yes, they love dancing. We love our culture. We know our culture is there, been there for the last 4,000 years. And even though we haven't grown that big size, over those years, still 20,000 people, and about 20 years ago, it was still 20,000 people. And for the reason for this is some of our people in the Cook Islands have migrated to New Zealand and Australia.
Right. Well, I hope all the best for the Cook Islands in the future, and I hope we could, as country, Norway could come closer to the Cook Islands, and I do hope that we could do something in the future to help you, and I'm sure you could help us with something as well. I tasted your lovely food you had down there, and part of your culture could be very interesting to show to the Norwegians.
Yes, thank you very much, Lisa. We love the people, the tourists. We love them to come to the islands because at the moment it's one of our way of earning some money for the people of the Cook Islands. We always look at the tourists. We have to look after them. We would treat them well, to be friendly with them, and so for the future we depend on you.
Thank you for coming here.
Thank you very much.
Everybody, the school is divided into two areas. Firstly, we have the primary school on this side, new entrance 4 years up to about 10 years. And on the other side of the school, we have our secondary area, Form 1 up to Form 5. We have a roll number of about 270. Staff is about 18 staff teaching our school. Most of the staff speak 2 languages. You can see with the trees with red flowers, we call it tipani.
Det blir mer våpen. I Stillehavet har Frankrike gjort den 6. prøvesprengingen siden september i fjor. Kritikere omtaler sprengingen som et slag i ansiktet for de som forhandler med sikte på kjernefysisk nedrustning. Prøvesprengingen ble gjort på Mururoa-atollet og blir også denne gangen sterkt fordømt.
Det er i dobbelt forstand dekning for å si at verden ble rystet da det smalt klokken 10:30 norsk tid i går kveld. Den 6. prøvesprengningen i den pågående serien hadde en sprengkraft som er nøyaktig 6 ganger så kraftig som atombomben som utraderte Hiroshima i 1945. I Australia ble styrken i sprengningen registrert med følsomme apparater. Smellet sendte sjokkbølger dypt inn i regjeringskontorene, selv om det ikke kom uventet. Lederen i Canberra, som har ført an i den internasjonale fordømmelsen, hadde til det siste håpet at franskmennene skulle bøye av. Utenriksministeren betegnet atomprøveprogrammet som et dypt uansvarlig kapittel i moderne fransk historie. President Jacques Chirac har antydet at programmet kan bli skåret ned fra de planlagte 8 til 6 prøvesprengninger. Men da den franske ambassadøren til Canberra ble spurt om dette betyr at det nå er slutt, svarte han svært unnvikende.
It's always been said in the last few months that the test would stop before the end of February. So that's the limit.
Og i Japan, det eneste landet som har vært utsatt for atomvåpenets redselsvirkninger, fikk protestene et dypt følelsesmessig innhold i dag, ikke minst i Hiroshima.